What is up, guys? It's Baron Yam. And for all you people cohabitating thinking that you're holding it down, how come your wifey's bedside drawer looks like Toys R Us? Huh?
What up? This is Baron Sadist.
What is up? What's up?
If you're on
Yo,
Twitch, this is Baron and Tico, because apparently Sadist is a bad word on Twitch.
Like you don't see people on there torture themselves watching girls that they probably never sleep with, but sadism is like a word that's banned. You notice that about Twitch,
Yeah, I
right?
know.
Always,
It's apparently against the TOA over there or something like that,
yeah,
which is funny as hell.
it's always the stuff that's too real that gets banned from Twitch. But it's just
Right?
like then they always I'm following this that story that you see on a lot of military channels where they talk about just the hypocrisy, like people watching TV. And I want to know, since you're kind of a pro Twitch guy, at least since the last time we talked about it, like people just watch whole ass animes on there. Like if they're watching
Yeah.
your anime, if they watch your anime, are you gonna like DMCA them, or like because they consider it broadcasting to a whole
Well,
broadcasting.
9 times out of 10, if you're watching my anime, 9 times out of 10, you're probably a member, so you paid for it.
It's all about where it's from, right? They
Yeah, you
got the air.
probably pay for it. So it's like, do I really care? Because like the first few got in for free and get it for free, and after a while, when it got big enough, I could basically say you basically gotta to get all the content. You basically have to become a member of the channel, basically. So that was a thing.
But so that was that part of like that's your bottom line, right? Like if they're not if they down let's say they leached it off of like a torrent site or something, and they're watching it that way. That's when somebody would step in and be like,
Well,
oh
here's the problem with the torrent sites in that anime. The anime's made to scramble if you download it. So it's one of those things where like it's fine if it's on YouTube and it stays on YouTube, but outside of YouTube, it's typically just scrambles. Um,
so it doesn't work outside of YouTube is right.
it's encrypted, so yeah, it doesn't really work outside of YouTube.
What do you how is that like not normal for anime or for like any wave file or whatever?
No,
How
it's not normal. It's not
uh,
normal for any WAV file because typically with WAV files, typically people when they download it, they'll get a rip off of it or they'll pretty much get the file. Whereas this one, you'll get the file, but you'll get it distorted and looking like you ever see like you ever watch like digital TV when like you watch a channel, then all of a sudden all the pixels on the channel started cutting up.
yeah. Like
It's basically like that.
okay.
It'll like
See,
turn it'd be like different colors and stuff like that, and it won't be an actual screen. It'll be like just it'll just be like you barely hear the sound, stuff like that. So if you rip it, you pretty much get ripped.
that's what I think is stupid. It's like these corporations, like the anime corporations. I'm saying like they just are so greedy, man. Like if they wanted to, they could just put it into they could just do what some small creator like you did, or like some less triple A anime thing did, and just make it so you can't pirate it or it's hard to
Yeah.
pirate enjoy it. But they don't want
Well,
to even.
they could, but they worry about everything else, and they worried about applying money elsewhere. So that's their problem. As far as like safety, I mean, they can do it if they really wanted to, but the question is, do they want to? Is
Mhm.
where it lies.
I might
Like,
be for thinking that, but I just think that
I mean, it's not hard to do,
yeah
but you would have to find some type of encryption to pull it off. And 9 times out of 10, if you show it on TV,
yeah
it's not going to really pan out for you anyway. So it's more or less one of those things that you got to do online.
yeah, and it's Twitch too, so it's like that you could try to chirp a Twitch streamer and be like, yo, find something else to do besides watch animes. And it's like
Well, and here's the thing with it: like, if you watch it from your computer onto anime, As long
Yeah.
as if you watch it on Twitch, it's like you're watching it. 9 times out of 10, you're a member. So if a Twitch streamer is literally watching an anime, they're probably a member, which means you're welcome. Especially if it's a Twitch thought like Pokemon, you're welcome. you know, so it's one of those things where 9 times out of 10, it wouldn't really bother me as much if somebody was,
Yeah.
because 9 times out of 10 they're a member and they already paid for it.
If I
So
get, if
it's
I,
like they got access to it no matter what.
what's up, Win?
Um,
What's up? Yeah. Yeah.
now, now, the problem I would have if like you found a way to unencrypt it and then show it, then I would have a problem. But
Yeah.
that's yet to be a thing yet.
Then people could clip it and broad. Then they could redistribute it basically, and that's not cool. That would be like at the certain point. But then like, wouldn't it be cool if I or like
The only other thing that you could possibly do and quite possibly get it would be if you were to like pull like people used to do back in the day for movies. They go to the movie theater and they'll film
Yeah.
a whole ass movie.
On
If
a
you
can-
do something like that, that'd be your best bet, but it wouldn't be the best quality sound of the anime. And
that's
it'd probably be paced a little bit slower, considering that I noticed with a lot of things when you do that, it typically the action and everything's paced slower, or the action and talking is off, or something along the lines of that. It's paced all off, basically. Like you might catch somebody talking trash before a fight, and now next thing you know they're fighting. It's like, wait a minute, what just happened there?
Yeah. Like the punch makes like a argument sound. It's like, wait, this is not.
Yeah.
This
Yeah, like you got the punches making argument sounds, literally. Like I've actually literally seen that happen before. It's like he's talking about his mom. Where did the punch come from?
no info.
Then he's arguing, and you hear the punch like a second or two later, or something like that. It's like he's not even fighting. Like, what the heck?
Yeah. Well, guys, if you listen to this, you can go to Tico's website for the anime and use promo code YAM to get 15% off of the. If I ever get big enough, I'm definitely doing sponsorships and promos, man. But
this guy,
you gotta be careful with that, man, though, because that can get dicey. Or like doing ad reads and stuff. I guess that's real, but that's where all the money is in podcasts, man. I feel like that's why people do podcasts, because they can just say and do whatever they want, and no one sift through all these episodes and find the stuff to cancel them. It's just kind of.
That's why I like doing podcasts. Ain't nobody really going to go through it. I mean, there are certain people that'll go through it, but not everybody's going to go through it, because it all comes down to attention span.
You make certain you say certain catchphrases that'll get people who are just like neurotic or crazy just to like keep listening. I think more podcasters should probably at least learn that, because they're always trying to like drop knowledge or have brand new hot. It's always podcasts are kind of like, I think they get plagued by like scathing hot takes and always having a controversial opinion, or trying to bring, I've realized that with some of the people who listen to us, it's like they already know a lot of they already get a lot of the context and stuff. So it's just like trying to drop knowledge all the time. It's really like I feel like it just kind of drags the podcast on for longer than it really should be. But
because technically, you can do that, but no, we don't got no merch yet. D man, I wish we did. Can you imagine having Baroness Sadist merch? That'd be lovely. I gotta get somebody on that. I gotta get an artist on that one. Baroness Sadist merch.
I mean, I will pay, because that's the thing. I don't really feel comfortable like doing stuff because I like to keep it nice and simple. But I wouldn't mind paying somebody like for designing some like a spy versus spy Tico and Yam merch or something like that. Or, like third world, or like maybe like a division symbol, and then like on the top it says third world country, and the bottom it says standard or something like that.
Third world country standards. That's funny.
And a lot of the sayings wouldn't really get people in trouble for wearing them, but then a lot of the times you'd be like, I feel like you get double takes. Like, what is that even supposed to mean? Because but like I don't think that people will get really lost. Like there's not like a whole lot of inside jokes.
Can you imagine like a white guy wearing like A nigga might be from a third world country, but a nigga got standards t-shirt. That'd be funny as hell.
Little Filipino guy or something. It's like he would be more,
That would be funny as hell. Or seeing like see a little Korean kid wearing it or something like that. The K-pop kid wearing
yeah.
it. That'd be great.
And then like very judgmental, very high standard parents see him wearing that shirt and they just freak out.
Yeah, he got standards though. At least he got standards.
With it, right? And it's not necessarily a third world country. I mean, Korea is like, yeah, they were colonized for a really long time, but they weren't necessarily third world standards for very long.
Are they first world country? I don't think they got nukes though. So I think they're considered. I don't think know if they're actually considered a first world country or a superpower. I think they might be still considered a third world country.
Yeah,
or at least a second world country.
Yeah, I feel like if we do any sweepstakes or giveaways in the future, if they ever get like 100 viewers at a time, dream big, cross your fingers. But I feel like we have to let D-Man win like obligatory rigged victory for D-Man, maybe like the first couple of times, just because.
Right. That is funny as hell. Obligatory victory.
And sorry guys, luck of the draw. You can submit more times if you want to try to win, and they're not gonna win. There's no chance of them winning.
At least the first two times, because D-Man always wins.
Chris Mitchell, D-Man, and then JR, and then like Jordan Daniels on Facebook, and it's like, why do I keep getting skipped?
Our Facebook winner is Jordan Daniels. Our YouTube winner is D-Man. Right?
Exactly. We'll be getting, oh my God. Then we start getting like Me Too's and stuff out the woodwork. Like, he didn't get me I was waiting to bring this up, but I might as well bring it up now. Like, I was doing training for my work, and one of the things that we have to learn as a manager is like harassment and discrimination and stuff. Dude, you will not believe the kinds of questions or the kinds of like scenarios they have on there. Like, one of the questions that I got wrong twice and I had to like redo the test was like, how often do false allegations happen? And I was like, I didn't read the question because I was just trying to skip through it because I got so much other stuff I have to do. And I thought that it meant like, how often do just straight up harassment and accusations occur? And so I put like very often. Then it said I was wrong. So then I was just like, sometimes. And then it says wrong. And then when I hit rarely, the training software said that I was right, but it didn't feel right. Because like,
because the sad part about that, what's actually said by feminists and what's actually done in real life is two totally different things.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Because the feminists make it sound like it's something that happens on a regular basis, or SJWs, they make it sound like it's something that happens on a regular basis, or like it's always happening, or it's always lurking, or it's always there. And it's really not. It's really not. It's not in the least bit.
I couldn't tell if I was being fooled by the narrative or if I was being too smart and going with what I thought that it wanted to. But I can see why they want us to think that false allegations happen very rarely. So most of the allegations that happen are supposed to be true, or supposed to be, or not well. And that's another thing. If I think about it from the like mathematically in my head, it makes sense. Like most of the time people actually speak out should be legitimate, and only some weird people would do it falsely, basically. But then I have to also take.
Well, you got to take consideration too. If it happened so frequent, there'd be a higher turnover due to firing, basically, or due to reprimanding people. So in all technicality, if it was done so often, you would be replacing people at your job quite often, or suspending people at your job quite often. That's pretty much how it will work. This is why it's false.
Yeah, because I think about corporate people and how, like, not just high in demand they are. If you're a Kevin Samuels, they talk about high value. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about their how their behavior can be seen as mean or intolerant or arrogant, or they like when you ask a rich person how he's doing, he's always just like, having so much fun, and blah blah blah, and
I'll be on my yacht this weekend. Like when?
that can be offensive to some people. Like, think, and then the thing, like, if you don't have that, and then you're in a circle that like you have to be there, and you also have to laugh. You also maybe feel like you have to laugh at the person's jokes, and then they talk to you, like they not single you out, but they're just like, you are a person, right? It might feel like, yeah, they're using their power or something, whatever a feminist wants to say, like they're being targeted for microaggression because
Yeah.
they done telling a
Well,
yacht.
you also got to take consideration too. A lot of times, a lot of the harassment actually comes from women to men. So, and typically, if men actually reported harassment more, it'd be a lot higher. But we
Yeah,
typically don't, or we
and it,
typically just downplay it, and that's pretty much how society works. But the sad part about that is harassment actually comes from women more than it comes from men. So at work, you're typically going to be if you're a decent looking guy or if you're an attractive looking man, you're going to be harassed by women at work. It's pretty much how it works.
like that meme from it's like the meme that men always give too. Like I say hi to a woman at work because if I don't say hi, then I could be portrayed as being creepy,
Yeah.
Then it doesn't make
And
sense
at the
the other.
same time, if you say hi to a woman, you could be betrayed as being saying creepy. If you don't say hi to her, then you could be like, well, he doesn't like me. Now you got a whole nother problem that you got to deal with because now you're working off the premise that you don't like her and so you're against her, so therefore you want her fired, basically. So when anything happens to her, you're going to be responsible for it, or they're going to try to reprimand you because
Yeah.
that. And that's
At
typically how a lot of that stuff works.
the same time, though, like women don't necessarily need to say hi because like how if they don't say hi as a young guy, I just think, oh, she just thinks she's better than me, like
Well, no, because
it,
at the end of the day, I've actually had women literally walk past me on the street and tell me I should smile.
yeah, I get that. Yeah, well, the you're too serious type of like,
Yeah, like, bitch, you
shaming.
don't get on my fucking face. That's what I want to say out loud, but I don't. But it's like, then also get women that'll ask me random ass shit. Like I tell you, remember that time I told you there was this woman, she had her iPhone in her hand and she had her iWatch on, and she's gonna ask me what the time is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about shit like that. Like, she's literally harassing me. I was minding my business. She has a watch on. Obviously, she's harassing me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah, and
one of those. It's that kind of thing.
like the people, I think it's mostly just the people in Hollywood that make these things seem so much worse because the people that claim Me
Because they have a
Too.
higher. You also got to take consideration they have a better platform than we do, so therefore they can make shit sound worse than what it really is on a regular basis.
Yeah, I
And
also
it's
think they're desensitized. They're desensitized to like just normal average Joe guys talking and conversing with them because they're talking about rich successful people who want certain things from them or making deals with them, and then that kind of trickles down or trickles up, however you trickles down to the average dude who doesn't
not.
necessarily have the same body count as one of these like these the people producers and all the people that get sex for transactionally,
Yeah,
like if we're pursuing a woman down at the bottom of the totem pole or whatever, it's because like we're interested in them, we like them, we want to start a relationship potentially with them or something like that.
here's a problem though. We're pursuing women nowadays. Like if you say "excuse me, miss" or something like that, and there's a problem, they'll typically fire back with "I have a boyfriend." Like, well, okay, if you had a boyfriend, he would know that your tire's flat, and you would be able to get that fixed. That seems to be a thing, especially with women with car problems. They'll basically just shout that, like, I don't really care. Like, yeah, like the one dude shouted at the woman, excuse me, miss. She goes, I have a boyfriend. He goes, that's nice, I'm married. But you have a flat tire.
Yeah, I mean, like they have
And
more
but you have a flat tire. Oh, then she goes, can you help me? It's like, no. He's
they have,
like, no. Like, no, you ain't gonna be ignorant to me and ask me to help you. Like, it don't work like that.
I'm saying it's important because like to help somebody you have to want to you have to want to be accepted and be liked, let alone accepted. Like you want to be in good favor with someone if you have to help them. But you can see with
Well,
these,
no, because the sad part about that is it's just plain attitude. Like I don't
yeah,
really need that attitude. I'm trying to point out something to you. That'd be like if I was walking down the street and I seen a woman about to walk in front of a bus and I go, "Hey, miss," she goes, "I got a boyfriend." Okay, well, you ain't gonna have a boyfriend for long because you about to meet Jesus in heaven right now. But that's typically how I look at it. Like, look, I'm not gonna stop you if that's what you really want. If you want death and you want it that badly, knock yourself out. So I'm not gonna stop you. But the problem is you run into a lot of these women who do and say this stuff and act like they're holier than thou or act like they're better or try
it's
to
like
spout off that they have a boyfriend and the conversation has nothing to do with what's going on. It's like
it
I
is.
don't really care that you have a
It's like
boyfriend.
it's like getting mad at somebody because you have like a pre-existing condition that doesn't have any visible symptoms for it, like or like this whole gender
Thanks, D
thing.
man.
Hey, bro, good to see you, and Wynn's there too. Yeah, but it's just like, um, wow, how are guys supposed to tell what a girl looks like who doesn't have a girlfriend and a girl or boyfriend or a girlfriend, and what a girl looks like who does have a relationship? Like, why is it a
Well,
guy's
no, because here's the thing though. That's besides the point. You don't really. It doesn't really matter if you have if you're in a relationship or not. If somebody notices a problem, it's
yeah,
common decency to tell you that there's a problem. What we don't need to hear is about your life and your life story. Like
the
you have an immediate problem right now that needs to be addressed. So it's one of those things where like you're catching attitude for no reason whatsoever, and it's like, well, me personally, if somebody get an attitude with me, I'll let them fall and die. Basically, I don't really care. Like if you're gonna walk in front of a bus, you're gonna walk in front of a bus. If you want to ride around with a flat and bend your rims, you can ride around with a flat and bend your rims, and somebody else have to pay for it. It ain't gonna be me, and it is what it is. So it's one of those things where you're basically being a good Samaritan, and your act of being a good Samaritan is being smacked down by some bullshit that has nothing to do with what you're trying to point out to that very person, which sucks.
right. Well, whatever the case is, like what their status is really has nothing to do with it, and
Yeah.
like they don't, it's almost like yeah, they're just they think you see them as a damsel in distress or something when
Like,
you're
no,
like,
I don't really care about you being a damsel in distress. The problem that I'm having is I'm going to need you to, get about your feelings and actually address this problem that you're having, obviously.
right,
Because if you don't, then there's going to be an even bigger problem, and then you're going to be out there talking about, well, I didn't know, and like, well, sucks being you. That's exactly what I'm saying. Sucks being you because I'm
women
trying to
kind
point it out to you.
they have like this issue where they don't they think that if where does it come from? Like they think that if you ignore a problem that it can somehow get better or somehow will change or something. Like it's like if as long as they don't hear you mentioning that problem, either they can still complain about it or somehow they feel like it's going to get solved by somebody if no one talks about it.
Well, yeah,
So it's
and
kind of
that's
like
just it. Like, it doesn't matter if it gets solved by somebody. The problem with it is if you the very problem with it comes from the fact that when you're trying to help somebody, they got an attitude. Why do you have an attitude? First off. Secondly, I am trying to be a helpful person. I'm trying to be a good Samaritan. Hell, in certain states, they actually have to have a good Samaritan law just so people can report some shit. That's how bad it is. Rhode Island's already had it, but when you have to implement it in other states just for that very reason, now it's a problem. You got to figure out why it's a problem and why it needs to be addressed and why do you have to make it a law that you have to do that. Because the sad part about that now, you're actually obligating somebody who's an innocent bystander to actually be participating in a crime, or not participating in a crime, but be a participant in some stuff that unknowingly or unwittingly they want to be a part of at the end of the day, which really sucks once you think about it.
yeah, I just think it's the Good Samaritan law is like it's very unnecessary, but if it didn't exist, obviously no one would feel like they could actually pop like and it's always the silliest things like me I think about college and like a lot of people have way too much fun and when
Mm-hmm.
it gets serious that's when the Good Samaritan law comes into play. But even so, like, do people do anything just to escape something getting serious? Like I said, they want to just ignore the fact that it's a it's a real problem because having fun is there's too much of a cost for not having fun. If you're not having fun doing something nowadays, then people see you as a slave. Like, you got that rapper saying slavery was a choice. It's like, come on, really, yay? Like, it's like he trying to guilt people who work hard at something that isn't the exact thing that they want to do, and all because it doesn't look flashy, it doesn't look the best. Like don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people that value hard work, but they always want to try. Like, I noticed that with women too, they really don't know how to. They're like always fixer uppers. Like, you try to tell them that you're going through something, and then they just say, "Well, why don't you do this? Or why don't you just be yourself? Or why don't you just be?" It's like, what would you know about being yourself? You only
Yeah,
do things because other people value them or value it. So it's like, how can you give that advice to somebody to be themselves when you don't even, like, if you were to ask, like, okay, what is your version of being yourself? Listening to somebody complain and then try to shame them into doing something really stupid or crazy that they think is cool, and they're implying that they want to do it, but they don't have the ability to do it. And like, it sounds bad when you talk about it, just trying to help them, but when it's reversed and you try to give women the ability to, like, help people and offer advice, they always suggest just like the most standard basic advice ever, just be yourself, or
yeah,
stuff like this. And it's really stupid, like, because you're like, I can't just be myself. Like, I am myself. You can't just, like, oh, whoops, I'm not being myself, let me just change to not do that.
yeah.
And women can do that on a dime. That's why they think it's so easy for us to just, like, solve a problem immediately.
True. And it's sad, but it's true.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if you follow a girl's advice and then you're like, oh, I'm just gonna be myself and it's gonna help me out, it doesn't inspire anybody else to really, like, take action, because it's when women, like, change and transform and stuff, it doesn't help society, it just helps them. Like, when they move to a different state or something, or move to a different city because they just had a hot girl summer, it's like, so what did you do? How did you fix the problem? You really didn't. You just, like, moved
Mhm.
away from it or moved away from it. And that's always stuff that's, like, been like, what? Meanwhile, it's like, it's hard for a guy to just, like, figure out exactly what's wrong and solve it right away. But
Yeah,
then that's what we're here for. That's what we're here to put on earth to do, according to women. So it's just like, the hell.
apparently. Apparently. Which is
And
very sad within itself once you think about it.
right, 'cause how would anything get done? Like, how do they expect relationships to work if it's all about, like, if the moment I say that I'm having a bad time, you want something to change dramatically. It's like
Well,
I'm
my overall problem with that when it comes to women is typically when you tell them something that you have a problem with, or you tell them something that is bad about them or bad about their behavior, or that can possibly fix it and make it better. They typically get very defensive and they always want to attack, or they always want to be defensive and they always want to talk about you in a poor light or talk trash on you. The sad part about that is, you, this is something I always found funny with women. You ask men to come and talk to you and tell you about stuff and communicate, but you can't even do that yourself. You
Mhm.
can't even oh, you can't even shut up long enough to actually listen to what a person got to say without feeling like you're being attacked, or you're being in general. It's like, no, shut up. Listen some damn times. Just shut up.
Yeah, right. Or they like they said, they get, like, the soon as stuff gets rough, like, kind of like level one for a guy. Like, I think about, you're living level zero until you at least get out of whatever schools you end on, and then you're, like, living by yourself. That's basically like level one for a guy. But that's like when a woman wants to just find a new man, or move to a different city, and, like,
Well, no, it's not even that though, because the sad part about that, women very rarely get level one. Women are always on recruit mode recruit mode or tutorial mode, basically. So typically, women end up either on recruit mode or tutorial mode, which
Yeah.
is no mode at all. The sad part about that, men come into the game at least on like level 2, level 3. That's
Mhm.
pretty much how it works. And even if you look handsome, you pretty much come in at level 2, level 3. We'll say if you're the most handsome person, you typically come in at level 1. But the sad part about that, even they have a hard time making it through life, especially if they're stupid or dense. And
Yeah.
this is
They don't.
something that women never really have to never do, because you can just pretty much, case in point,
Yeah.
a guy could be homeless and he'll be homeless for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
A woman could be a woman could pretty much, trade sex for a roof over her head. Hell, there's even ads and papers for literally apartments if you want to pay your rent through sex.
Yeah. Classified
So
ads, stuff like.
this is not even classified ads. It's basically like your apartment. You basically they're offering apartments, and if you want to pay, you can pay either cash or you can pay through sex, basically. So it's one of those things where you have to realize that women literally live on recruit mode, recruit mode, or tutorial mode. Sadly, for that very reason, because think about it: if a woman does the same thing we do, she'll get like a million views, a million likes, a million chubs, a million everything, and she'll be able to shoot up to the top right away because
Mhm.
she's a woman. It's typically how that works. But if a man does it, he's got to work hard at it and work his way to the top and make it. Sadly, but if
Yeah.
somebody like Pokemon or Amaranth was to do it, they'll just get likes and views on GP because of how they look. That's
And then
sad, and
talk
that's sad
shit on.
and pretty much how it works.
Right. I mean, I
Like,
noticed that.
case in
They,
point, I'm not really throwing shade on her. Like, there's a fundamental difference between somebody like, I don't know, Sydney Watson and we'll say Sydney Watson and we'll say Hammerhand, or Sydney Watson and somebody like Bazef Baz Baz AF or something like that, Bazef. But she typically gets more views and she gets more clicks for the fact that she's a woman. It's kind of like Roma Army. She gets a lot of views and clicks because of that, sadly, because she's a woman.
yeah.
No other. I mean, does she say a lot of stuff? Yeah, she does say a lot of stuff, but the sad part about that is also men say the same thing, but they don't get the same clicks and views as they do, sadly. And that's typically how a lot of that stuff works. Kind of like the Georgia Freeze, your NOLA girls, and all that stuff. And it's pretty much all that stuff. Like, all you really have to do is be a woman, and you can do anything and say any damn thing, and people will just follow you. Hell, you could be a woman and talk about Satanism and probably get a bunch of Christians to convert to Satanism because you're a pretty girl. Or you can get on TV, you can get on internet and talk about, like, Nazis, and probably get a bunch of people to convert to being Nazis based on the fact that you're a pretty girl. That's pretty much how that works.
You look at social media, it's always the people that always have the most controversial opinions or something. Like, and not all of them, but a lot of them are just really attractive and extremely good looking or charismatic. It's like,
Yeah.
I thought every Satanist was just extremely good looking when you look on social media, because that's like the place where they go in order to get
Well,
the.
no, because the sad part about that, not every Satanist is actually good looking. Now, when that
No,
person might have a Satanist point or something like that, but typically Satanists aren't the most attractive people in the world. They are some of the most intelligent, and they are some of the most smartest, and they are some of the most brightest, and they come up with the most wittiest responses and returns known to
mhm.
man. But typically, they're not. I wouldn't say they're the most attractive. Do they have attractive ones? Yeah, but most of them aren't attractive. They're
Yeah.
like they're pretty average looking for all
When
intents
you
and
look at the
purposes.
comments of a lot of them, and it's just like they're very well received. As they may not be attractive, but then like Christian, sometimes you look on Christian channels, they have like way more negativity and stuff
Oh yeah,
in the
definitely.
communities than some, like I said, some of the more controversial opinions. And that's kind of like yeah, I mean, I forget how we got onto that, because it is like women will talk about like red pill stuff, and they essentially are getting a boost from
Mhm.
that subject matter, because they would. I'm not sure they would be as much as much as like because women, social media is. I'm not sure they would be all that relevant if they didn't talk about red pill stuff. I mean, truthfully though, they could just sit in a bathtub and they would get probably more views. but it's like they pick something that men like to talk about and converse about as a way to just they feel like, oh, we're helping. It's kind of like when they nag you all the time. And they're like, oh, if I didn't nag you, you wouldn't be the best person, the best possible version of yourself. And that it's like the same concept to me. I don't think it's very helpful. I don't think it really makes a difference or makes any dents or anything like that
Well,
into.
and the neat thing about that is you typically end up with a lot of people that's watching those channels because it's easy on the eyes, or because the person's attractive, or the person's cute and stuff like that. So you end up having a lot of people that go over there and watch those channels and stuff like that because it is what it is. You're basically in a buyer's market, and you happen to have all the goods basically. So you're naturally going to be watched more. It's kind of like this is before your time. There was a channel that had Mr. and Mrs. MGTOW.
Mhm.
It literally was called Mr. and Mrs. MGTOW.
The Captain America and Iron Man masks on the bed. I think, if I remember that correctly, they had like
I
that. They
can't
had
remember.
I don't know. I think I might have seen one video,
No,
but
because I think it was actually an actual couple, an actually married couple, and they called themselves Mr. and Mrs. MGTOW. And they basically took the acronym so they could be big and famous. The sad part about that is they blew up kind of quick.
Mhm.
They literally blew up really quick because the sad part about that, the reason why they actually blew up is because a lot of people are paying them attention, and now they're getting a lot of click views on their on the algorithms, and they're getting a lot of either likes or dislikes in the algorithm, so they're getting boosted in the algorithm for that very reason. But the
Mhm.
sad part about that is they came from nothing and got everything. Case in point, Penny Proud. She only had like 900 subs, 900 something subs, if that. The sad part about that, if it wasn't for a lot of the people in the MGTOW community, she wouldn't have a lot of this. She wouldn't have a lot of the click throughs that she has now.
Mhm.
She wouldn't have a lot of the followers that she has now as well either, which really sucks once you think about it.
Mhm.
But the sad part about that is she basically played her hand very well to the point
Well,
where
you
now
I was
she literally has more subs than a person that was going at her, or two of the people that were going at her put together.
Mhm. I don't want to, and that's not, I don't want to take away from certain people because I'm like, I look at them and I'm like, you would have had however many subscribers you would have had based on your work ethic, the way that you play your cards. But it's just like, it's about how certain people get like suckered into, yeah, clicking through and just being interested in it.
Like
And
a lot of people get a lot of content creators, especially big ones, get caught up in this whole entire, I call it the the what's it called, the
it was like,
parasite, the parasitic content creator, where they just piggyback off that content creator, and they get big off that same content creator that they're messing with or harassing on a regular basis because they're always responding. So people's eyes are always on that person. So, and people like drama naturally, so they're always going to go back and forth for that very reason. So that's another. Like I said, you pretty much play your cards right. You can pretty much get away with a lot of stuff at the end of the day doing that, and that's sad, but it's so true at the same time when you actually watch stuff like that happen on a regular basis, because there's a lot of people that literally watch this stuff happen, and it's like, what
yeah.
was the point of that?
Yeah.
Why'd you even get involved in that?
Yeah, it's like audience members are always going to speculate. They're always going to try to say that this person said something funny about another person when it was probably completely harmless. But it's like these people don't talk with each other about what's going on. They just kind of like what you said. They harass each other, and then there's like a back and forth, but then there's never really like a come together and actually like, because a lot of this stuff like regardless like what you said, it could help boost the channels, it could help make it so that more people knew about it, because like you said, drama is king
Yeah,
uh and queen, and it's just like it for all the all like the flexing and stuff that we see happening, it's still, I don't see the growth as sustainable. Like I just don't think it was gonna last. I think a lot of channels that start drama and stuff like that are probably gonna end up falling victim to the audience or public opinion or something at some point, because it's just like there's no amount of drama you could make that's gonna be more sustainable and make more sense to people and have people want to consistently follow than actually working together. It's kind of like the way that when you get bored when you like watching a sports game and it just gets bored and you just get bored and you're just like, all right, I'm over this.
Yeah.
I don't think it builds a loyal fan base. I mean, a lot of people, like you said, can just get on StreamYard with like a click of a button. So
Yeah.
like you're pretty much relying on audiences to just not want to shed light on it themselves, or because they could literally create their own stream if they think they got it figured out and steal all of your viewers from you. And it's like, but I think it's weird. Like a lot of people get themselves into these fights or squabbles and stuff, and they don't realize how unstable it really is. And then they see a number on the screen and they get happy because they're just like, oh look, you know.
Yeah.
And like they never like I feel like they never think about what kind of audience they're actually attracting. They're just like, oh, it's getting views.
Yeah,
It's
that's all
getting
that matters. Is getting views and it's getting clicks. Uh-oh.
That's the thing. You will never ever be on the same level as somebody who's because shit happens in your personal life.
Yeah.
And like you can't sustain this drama. Most of this drama, the way that it looks and feels, it's stuff that's you would consider being like on network TV.
Yeah.
And it's
Like,
like
what
these
was
people
it? What's that one? USA, we know drama. Is it TNT? We know drama. Like,
TNT.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we know drama. Yeah,
Most of
it's
the
true.
people play that are rehearsed and acted and stuff like that are compartmentalized, and like no one ever has to deal with this stuff or fear being doxxed or blah 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 whatever bullshit you want to, like that goes into the drama nowadays on YouTube. That it's like I said, it's very unsustainable. Like if they're creating this kinds of drama, then you see they are so apprehensive and hesitant about doing anything because they know that there are haters that are watching, and they don't have the support boosted on they don't have people who support them have the loudest voice. They don't showcase the people that give the most credit, the most views, the most respect. They always just focus on the people that want to down them and want to just like drown them in negativity. And it's just like, if you're playing a role, yeah, you're not going to be phased by it. But if you're doing the MGTOW and it's supposed to be this authentic thing, like you're putting yourself out there a lot. And then you're saying, I'm the kind of person that goes after, these girls on YouTube and just tries to make them say a lot, or tries to tell them like, you shouldn't be making content. Hey, you're right. I did miss that. So a lot of people are gonna say like, "Oh, if Yam was in that situation, if Yam was around back then, he would have done the same thing." And wouldn't they? That's because obviously they literally try to put all the bad experiences they've had onto people that have never had those bad experiences. They try to force their perspective onto you, and it's like what? It doesn't make sense. It's like saying that somebody who was never like abused is going to act the way that a person that is abused would act. And like
Yeah.
it just flat out maybe in small, because they're maybe in small intervals and some and stuff, but definitely not to the same caliber. So I mean, it puzzles me like where they get this like grandiosity from. Like 'cause it's really hard to justify going after some of these people. Like I
Well,
had to,
no, because the sad part about that is a lot of times people make it easy to go after them, and it
yeah,
makes it more provocative to the point where like it's just an easy thing to do to get clicks and views and likes. Sadly, and this is pretty much how you get caught up in a whole entire quagmire of bullcrap with people by just going back and forth or just doing it on a regular basis to the point where like it's it's starting to get convoluted and start not to make any sense. And some people get tired of it, and then some people don't get tired of it, and they continue to watch it because they like drama. Sadly, and
mm,
then like you got people like me that are like, okay, this is annoying as hell, though. This is no, just no.
yeah. I kind of like
I'll just, yeah, it's like,
just like the way that the way that I feel like that Tico Sphere handles drama is kind of like SEAL Team 6. You know, just jump in, shotgun, boom, take a photo, send it to the press or send it to the chief, and it's
yeah,
done. It's just like
yeah,
it's like cut it off at the source, you know. But like
yeah,
for most people, it's like most of these situations of drama, it's like it just creates more and more and more radicalized uh, black and white thinkers. You know, you're either with us or against us, or you're with them, whoever
yeah,
they are. And it's just like I've never considered doxing anybody or ever. Like when that MGTOW dictionary thing came up, I just was like a panel member. What it's like if I knew that guy's name, there's no way in hell I would ever think about going after him. Obviously, it's a hindsight 2020, but it's like this is the stuff that people my age, that's why they're following Manosphere. How embarrassing is that? Most of the people that are my age, they look at Manosphere and like, thank God I'm not a part of that. And that's a very bad. I mean, that's what makes me apprehensive about making red pill stuff, because I just see it as, I'll get to it eventually, but I just see it as like a lot of people who are my age, they just look at it and they only see the bad parts about it, you know?
yeah.
And it's just like, what? And it messes me up because I'm just like, yo, I want to give this my all. I want to give it a good shot, but then at the same time, I don't, I don't want to just talk about what everyone else is talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
then and then
that's where a lot of the problems lie when you got to run into stuff like that.
yeah, whenever we bring up stuff, they're like trying to sweep it under the rug. Like, who is MAGA? Why are you guys talking about MAGA man? Why are you guys talking about Jack Murphy? Why are you guys talking about these people? That's just all drama. And it's just like, no, it's important. Come on, like, is it really less important than like going after dog down voting some girl that just said that she disagrees with them. She only did like 10 minutes of research and that she disagrees. It was
Yeah.
like our small time freestyle channels getting tons of hate because they're not rapping the right way. Our DIY, like DIY puzzle instrument channels getting downvoted because they're not the right style of 3D printed, designs or something. No, it seems like it's just something that applies to, this whole manosphere, men and women and dating thing, and a lot of it's perpetuated by like guys. It's weird
Yeah.
because you look at the outside, the real world, and it's like we try to talk about women because women do a lot of the harassing, they do a lot of the false allegations, they do a lot of the kidnapping, all of this stuff. I could go into detail about my life too, just light people up with facts, but they don't
Yeah.
want they want just like they want it spun to where they can do the same bad shit that they talk crap about. They're like,
Well, and that's pretty much where projection comes into play at that point.
yeah,
Because you got to realize, like, typically, a lot of times, a lot of the stuff that these women are saying are things that they've either done themselves or basically done to other people or done themselves, or witnessed somebody else do, and they
the
just
story.
don't want to talk about it, so they want to project it out onto other people or men. Men being the group of people that they want to project it out on the most. The sad part about that is women do this on a regular basis. It's kind of like domestic violence. The sad part about that is when you look at the domestic violence thing, you find out very quickly that women actually do a lot more of the assaulting than men do. Or, when it comes to child abuse, women. When it comes to, any type of kidnapping or any type of thing against a child, it's always women.
Mhm.
Sexual assault, women. When it comes to children, it's like, so at what point is it actually is too much information enough for you to actually just go away and sit there and cry in a corner at that point? Because after a while, it's just like, well, we debunked that, we debunked that, we debunked this, we debunked that. It's like, what is your point now?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's the problem that I have with a lot of people and a lot of women, that especially men that ride with that narrative or say that narrative, or oh, I did a Google search. Well, yeah, you ain't do a Google, you did a Google search. What you didn't do was actually go into an actual research paper that actually has references and things like that, where you can actually click on a reference and it actually goes through. You can actually go and see where the references actually have, where you can actually go to the actual reference
JSTOR
paragraph on the main story where the references are. And this is what women don't do. They'll basically go to a website and go, see this. Okay, what's your references? This. And it'll go to nowhere. Or it'll go to another website that says Susan G. Coleman, breast cancer, or it'll say something like support women or SJW or
Southern Poverty.
LGBTQ or something like that, basically. And that's pretty much how their references pretty much look when you go do it. Or most times you click on a link and it goes nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where, people don't know. And this is the neat thing about the internet that I love. Instead of actually doing the actual investigation and actually doing the actual stuff, you basically go internal. You basically go intern. You basically just go look for a Google search to basically get the point that you want. And this is the problem that I have with a lot of people who do this shit, because now you're getting a story that's dedicated to you or spun just for you. Like you can get the same story with two different narratives.
Oh yeah, man. I get recommended stories all the time for stuff that it's like Google knows exactly what you want to know about when you want to.
Yeah, like if you like a good example of that, if you're a leftist and you go look up Rittenhouse guy, you'll basically read something to the point where it sounds like he shot a bunch of black people. But if you go and look, if you're me or somebody else, you'll get a reference where they'll talk about the actual shooting and the people that were actually shot.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part about that. And it's like, now you're just projecting bullshit now for no reason whatsoever just to do it. Or now you're just projecting in general to piss a lot of people off. Which makes no sense. Like, why would you do something on purpose like that? Why would you do something that makes no ethical sense to do?
Right. And like another thing that I realized they do this with, like the projection stuff, is the fear mongering against so-called incels. Like I feel like everybody's been in that point where they didn't have good easy access to girls, whether it's involuntary or voluntary or whatever. And it's like eventually people get over it, or and if they don't, or if it takes a really long time, like some people they spend 20 years developing a career, but once they get to that 20-year period, or after that, the moment the year 19 is done, it's like things get dramatically better once they get found, or once they start to expand, or once things actually start looking up. But what women will do is they'll just see guys, and it's like what we were talking about with the whole "I have a boyfriend" thing. I just guys can't, if a girl says "Ew, you're creepy," guys can't just be like, "Oh, well, I'm single, so you can't shame me for being creepy because I'm single." And it's like girls saying you can't offer to help.
You're creepy. Well, I'm in a relationship. Thank you very much. You can't shame me for being creepy because I'm actually in a relationship. I mean, and it's sad, but that can happen, and it's so true. But the sad part about that, nobody ever thinks of that stuff.
Yeah, and then everything is spun as we're overcompensating for something. Like if she says "Oh, you're mean," you can't just be like, "I have a pickup truck," or I have a nice house. I have a really nice house, or something like that.
Yeah.
People guys.
Well, the neat thing about stuff like that is you could be the meanest person in the world. If you're on a private jet, you're not mean anymore.
Not mean. You're just.
You're not even. The sad part about that is, if you're on a private jet, you're not even creepy anymore. Your creepiness disappears if you're on a private jet.
You have a big old pot belly, the hair all over. Smell like cigars and friggin'.
Because the sad part about that, what a lot of people fail to realize in this day and age is, everybody's trying to be rich or trying to act like the rich people. And the sad part about that, if you notice anything about rich people, what's going on? Chris Michaels and David Eden, new to it, obviously new, but the sad part about that is a lot of people are mimicking rich people. So typically, rich people are in. This is typically why the dad bod thing is in right now. Because if you ever notice a lot of rich people, because here's the thing about working out. If you're working out, you got time to work out, you got all that free time to do that. 9 times out of 10, either you play some type of sport, or that's pretty much all the time you got. or
Yeah.
you're pretty much in that field where you do that a lot. You
Yeah.
got to work out, sadly. But the sad part about that is typically a lot of people don't have that kind of time or luxury to work out on a regular basis. So we're not always going to have that body or that banging body like everybody else does. But don't get me wrong, I look good. But the sad part about that is I'm not going to be sitting up there looking all shredded and ripped like that one dude on YouTube that got a channel that talks about women all the damn time, and it's the funniest shit in the world to watch. But I would never be that person for the very reason is like I got stuff to do. I got business to run. I got family to raise. I got shit like that. But I find time to actually work out. I don't have that kind of time to work out, but I do find time to work out.
Yeah, I notice that people in entertainment that are shredded, I kind of like have mental problems, you know, or that even if they're not, they're doing it to get
or they're doing it for a movie role, and like that's people do. They're doing it for a role, or doing it to look good, or they're doing it for stupid reasons, basically.
Exactly.
And like I was saying about the dad bod, if you notice anything about the dad bod or the new trend with the dad bod, is basically it's not really a new trend, but it's typically because a lot of men that are rich, they basically have dad bods. All the rich men, if you ever notice, they look fat or they got dad bods.
Yeah,
like Jeff Bezos, he got the dad bod.
You know,
Mark Zuckerberg, dad bod. You know, and it's things like this that people fail to realize. It's like what even what Ben Roethlisberger, the one quarterback for the Steelers, he pretty much has a dad bod. So it's one of those things where like the reason why the dad bod is popping because most rich people have dad bods.
Yeah, if you're an actor and you think that you think exercise is part of your like not exercise, getting shredded is like part of your journey for an actor, that's just called being a lazy acting. Like
no, because the sad part about that is there's certain times when actors need to get shredded for certain roles, like Hugh Jackman for Wolverine. Do you really want a fat Wolverine?
Yeah.
Would that even make sense to have a fat Wolverine? Henry Cavill for Superman.
Yeah, well, Hugh can emote. That's his thing for Wolverine, where he can think about making goals.
But the sad part about that though is he's a savage beast. So typically, a lot of times Wolverine doesn't have a shirt on.
He's got
do you want a Wolverine with a pot belly, or do you want a Wolverine that look like Thor from the last movie?
With
a pot belly, or do you want a Wolverine to look like he's Jack, basically? I mean, that's typically what it is. Because the sad part about that is Wolverine is strong and Wolverine is Jack. So,
I mean, well, Tika, all he's doing is making it easier for whatever company is casting him to put him in the film. Like they could just put CG.
No, because the sad part about that is if that was the case, he'd have wore less because he's too short to be. I mean, he's too tall to be. I mean, he would have been. He would have got a smaller actor because he's too tall to be Wolverine at the end of the day. So it has nothing to do with that. It's more or less the fact that he was a good actor for the franchise, and he was. But the sad part about that, to be Wolverine, you have to actually look the part. You can't be some fat Wolverine, basically.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the sad part about that, when he was chosen, he was basically told he has to do this diet now.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Henry Cavill for Superman. He had to actually be shredded to be Superman. He had to actually get in shape to be Superman. The Rock for the Scorpion King, same difference. When Arnold Schwarzenegger was already ripped, but when he played Conan Barbarian, he basically needed to look that part, basically. Or Hercules, or any of the other people that you obviously got to play. You're gonna when you think of a certain character, you basically need to be that. Sadly, Thor was one of them ones that caught everybody off guard, and it was kind of funny to see him with a fat belly, but it was kind of sort of sucky because basically now you're disrespecting a Norse god now, and it's like, oh, well, do you really want to do that? Now you throw a fit if somebody was to say God is basically a fat and pudgy guy, basically. So it's like, do you really want to go that route? And it's one of those things where like you can't just do shit like that, and you're not going to be in a movie and not get the part, sadly. Because the sad part about that, a lot of times, a lot of the action movies require you to actually be in shape. Like Liam Neeson, he's old as hell, but Taken literally required him to be in actual shape.
Yeah.
To do it. Same thing goes for Keanu Reeves. He's damn near 50. but his
Yeah,
roles require him to be in shape.
yeah. But
Tom Cruise,
he
same
looks like
difference.
school.
For
Yeah.
Mission Impossible, Jack Reacher, movies like that, it requires him to be in shape. John Travolta, when he does action movies, he's either doing John Travolta like the kind of pudgy guy or kind of fit guy, or he's doing John Travolta the fit guy, like when he did Swordfish, not Swordfish, was it Swordfish? Yeah, I think Swordfish. And then he did the one the movie Hello from Paris, or
Yeah.
from Paris, from
Man, there's a
Love from Paris, or from Paris, or well, from Paris with Love. Basically, he looked pretty jacked and he looked pretty in shape. Sadly, the sad part about that is at the end of the day, depending on the role that you do, hell, Samuel L. Jackson had to be in shape to do Mace Windu. He didn't have to be shredded, but he had to be in shape to do Mace Windu.
Yeah, he couldn't have been fat. Like he'd have to
Yeah,
be.
typically Samuel L. Jackson's a pretty in shape person, except for the one movie with Black Snake Moan and the Django Unchained. Basically, he's probably out of shape for those ones.
Face. Yeah, like Denzel's been punching people in the face on TikTok. I was seeing him. He's a dangerous man. But like
Well,
there's
that's his movie. His one movie. What's it called?
I
Man on
don't.
Fire.
Oh,
He
okay.
basically had to be in shape for that. So it's like one of those things where it's like you got to sort of be in shape for all that shit. You
Oh, the
can't
equal
not be in shape for action movies. Because the sad part about that, you might be doing some stunts, you might be doing all your stunts, but you still got to be in shape.
rom-coms too. That's another market you can get into if you're getting in shape for action.
Yeah.
You can also be in romantic films and romantic comedies. Like
Well, and the sad part about that, people like Seth Rogen, not Seth Rogen, was it Seth Rogen? The fat guy?
okay.
And Jonas Hill basically proved that you don't have to be like freaking Hugh Grant to be in a rom-com, sadly. So it's one of those things where it is both false and it's both like, okay, yeah, okay. But to some extent, it's actually pretty true because if you walk around outside, you see a lot of the people that are on dates. You'll see like this heavyset guy, white guy, with the skinny white woman, basically.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times the heavyset white guys, typically Italian or Greek or Polish or something like that, and that's typically how that works. But what you don't see is everybody else walking around with a skinny woman. You'll typically see like certain nationalities or certain cultures that got women like that, sadly.
Very rarely see like a black woman and an Asian man. That's like something that even Steve Harvey was making fun of that once. I saw on a video.
Yeah. Well, and even still though, you're very it's very rare. Like depending on where you are, if you're not a traveler and if you're not a part of the SYSBM community, it's very rare to see a black man with an Asian woman. Period. For that very reason, but you're more likely to see an Asian man with a white woman, or a Russian, or an Eastern European woman. It's pretty much how it works because that market's actually much bigger, and that market's actually much more advertised than anything else. Sadly,
they turn Asian characters into white characters all the time, and just for no other reason than it's like the white person's more well known, more famous, better looking.
Well, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter if that's the case because you can always find an Asian person to actually play the part. The question is, did you look hard enough, or are you trying to white? It's basically like the Avatar. Case in point, the Avatar. A lot of those characters could have been done differently, but they weren't. Like, think about it. Like, Katara and Soku weren't even like they didn't even look like they were part of the Water Tribe. Like all the main characters were literally not.
They look nothing like what they supposed to look like.
They looked like they were a bit, like somebody was trying to find somebody cute and somebody was trying to find a handsome white guy and a cute white girl, and they basically like they look nothing like the Water Tribe. Like it's funny because like when you watch the movie, the Water Tribe looks like they're Eskimos or Inuits and stuff like that. But Soku and what's his name and what's her name, Katara look like they're fucking somebody from the valley.
Yeah,
like so it's like
hard enough. Or they put. I know just two off the top of my head. You got like Ghost in the Shell is played by Scarlett Johansson, and they made Tilda Swinton an Asian character in the Marvel movies. So it's like they just pick these blonde white people to play Asian roles, and it's like like in that case, They don't. Or for the one guy in Cowboy Bebop, he's Asian, yeah, but could they have looked for somebody that maybe wouldn't get,
Younger,
yeah, or like something
younger, like
like,
younger. And the sad part about that is the thing that they fucked up with that was Jet. Just because his name is Jet Black doesn't mean you actually got to make him a black guy. Jet wasn't even a black guy. Like, and they fucked up on that one. Then they got Faye Valentine over there. It's like, okay, yeah, you know what, you really fucked up on that one. But the sad part about that, you can't be shocked when shit like that gets canceled. When you're talking shit on people, when you're talking shit on your audience and your people, like, people don't learn that, you know, shit like this is bad for you.
well, I think you just have,
like that's bad for you.
yeah, I will just say that I think you just have the wrong people in that industry in general, because if a lot of them got, podcasts or something, they could say and cast and do whatever that is that they wanted, but they wanted to be they wanted the most biggest possible stage to show their ideas, show what they think should be the mainstream on. And yeah, they shouldn't be shocked if they get roasted and put on trial. It's because they put themselves out there with the bad ideas that they had. So it's like if they just wanted to have their ideas be protected, there's a much more underground, independent way of making it, And I think a lot of people are kind of hopeful and positive because they always think the most talented person will get into the role or something, kind of like it's like professional sports. It's not like just because Ben Roethlisberger has a dad bod, he's also was like at the top of his game for the Steelers for a really long time. So it's like, it's not like he's
the sad part about that is he hasn't really been at the top of his game the last few seasons, which really sucks.
Mhm.
And there was a season that everybody forgets about where the two developing quarterbacks could have developed, but he made them not. He basically threw a temper tantrum and made them actually not suit up. Like, think about that. What type of morality would you have as a quarterback or upcoming quarterback if you can't suit up, or if you're told you can't wear a uniform on the field because the star quarterback feels threatened by you, basically? Like, the sad part about that is these quarterbacks would have been ready to go had they would have been able to suit up, or had they had not listened to the whims of a temper tantrum or a baby acting as quarterback. Sadly, and it's like now you're reaping what you sow. Now the one kid, he was doing good the first year, but now all of a sudden now he sucks because he's not getting the play time, and nor is he getting the recognition, nor is he getting anything that he actually needs on the field because he's not allowed to suit up because it might hurt your main quarterback's feelings. It's like, dude, you suck. You're washed up and you're getting old.
The way he was treated too in his last game would have been different if he would have, like, because you remember what happened when Kobe passed away, and he was much more of an apex of his craft, But as soon as he passed away, a bunch of people crapping on him. I feel like that's not going to happen to Ben until he's fully out of the limelight, or he has to pass away before people start saying, "Hey, remember when he was being like a real diva?" And like,
well, no. The sad part about that is I'm waiting for that to happen where he passes away and everybody brings up his rape allegation. Because everybody forgets about that. But the sad part about that is everybody forgets about that one majorly. And like, that one got swept under the rug so hard. It was like ridiculous. But it's like, what can you do? But like, it's one of those things where like everybody overlooks it because he's the quarterback. But it's kind of like when Michael Vick played for the Steelers. So you're perfectly fine with a rapist, but you're not fine with the person that happen to have his name attached to a dogfighting thing. Got it. We know where your logic and your morality lies, basically. And the sad part about that is it was mostly women who had a problem with this over that. Like, so you're okay with rape, but you're not okay with the dogs. Got it. So basically, you just support the rape culture, and that's pretty much how that shit works. It's like you gotta sit there and literally watch the hypocrisy as it unfolds in front of you. Like, you're perfectly fine with a dude that literally knocked his girlfriend out on the elevator. Perfectly fine with that, but you have a problem with somebody that happened to have their name attached to a dogfight.
Yeah.
There's like a video of this man knocking his wife out, and then knocking his fiance out, and then dragging her off the elevator like she garbage.
Yeah, like, one thing I think is stupid is like guys who date porn and adult film stars have to like sacrifice and not be insecure, but a woman who dates an athlete of the most dangerous, at one point it was one of the most dangerous sports, is just protected from like, oh, you dated a guy that literally crushes people every freaking day as on the field and off the
Well, no,
field.
it's not. It's not even that though. It's more or less the fact that you're missing the point. Is you can't sit up here and tell me that you have a problem with dogs. Well, you can't sit up here and tell me that you have a problem with men, beating women or raping women and all this stuff. But you're willing to overlook somebody like what's his name, Rice character and Big Ben, and you're willing to overlook it and say that Michael Vick was the worst human being known to man. Like we literally got videos of a man knocking a woman out on the elevator and then dragging her off like she trash. And then this woman turned around and married this man. So now what that basically tells me is women are perfectly fine with getting knocked out by men as long as they get married to a man and he has a lot of money.
A lot of money, right?
And the same thing goes for like, women are fine with being. It's kind of like the running thing with fucking Jeremy Meeks. He was literally in prison for rape. Women literally said when they seen his photo, women literally said under his fucking photo, I shit you not, he can rape me anytime. Like, what? No, that's not a thing. No. Who thinks like that? Like, you can't say men support rape culture, but you got women under Jeremy Meeks' photo saying that he can rape them anytime. Like he can do anything he wants to me. It's like at what point is it actually considered rape and it's not considered rape? Or in your convoluted mind, is it okay? It's like stuff like this that bothers me. It's like you can't say we men support rape culture when you got a bunch of women under Jeremy Meeks supporting rape culture.
Well, yeah.
Literally under there. Like, did you see that Facebook post when he got arrested? Here's how thirsty these women were. They literally raised that man a lot of fucking money and got him out on bail.
He's on level 1. He's on literally like level 1, and they're dating up.
Yeah. And the sad part about that, none of these women even got to date him. They just basically paid for his books. Like every other woman pays for a criminal's books, basically, not knowing that they're the other woman. They literally paid for this man's stuff, and they literally got him out on bail. And the sad part about that is none of them even remotely got to sniff his drawers. None of them even remotely got to kiss his forehead. None of them even remotely got to smell his sweat. None of them even remotely got to do anything with that man. They didn't even get to even breathe the same air as that man, sadly. But the sad part about that is they said all these reckless comments under his photo. One woman even said, I would leave my door unlocked just so you can come in and do that to me. Like, wait, what? So what it comes down to is basically, a lot of the stupidity that a lot of women project. Because the sad part about that is, case in point, right? Pornhub. They do a poll on what sex looks at what every so often every year. The sad part about that is women are notorious for looking up rape porn, father-daughter porn, taboo mother-son porn, and things like that, sadly. So you got mother-son, father-daughter,
age gaps,
daughter-father.
Yeah.
I mean, you got stuff like that, and it's like, then you also got stuff like, rape porn, basically. And like, they're like, if women are looking up rape porn overwhelmingly, like, you have to wonder who actually supports rape culture at that point. Because now the porn industry has like a demand for it, and now they got to make it. Now all of a sudden, now it's a thing now because women are up there looking it up and looking at it at a high rate. And the sad part about that is like you can't sit up here and say we support it when in fact you're the one that support it. We just make the porn industry just literally makes what everybody demands.
They're just like hypocritical capitalists. Just
like it's not even hypocritical capitalists because they're not even capitalists. They're basically just a bunch of feminists that says men support rape culture. But the sad part about that, behind closed doors, they're literally playing with their clitoris to rape porn.
Yeah.
Or like, or kidnap porn, or like, where they're getting kidnapped, or where they're getting beaten up, or they're getting humiliated, or they're getting matter of fact, ghetto gaggers is actually watched by women more often than men. Um,
I
things
know.
like that, things like that are watched more by women than watched by men. Anything where a woman is in duress, or being taken advantage of, or being like manhandled, or pushed down,
Wait,
and
we even have to
pushed down
mention?
on the bed and tied up or handcuffed, or pushed down and taken advantage of.
Do
Most
we,
of those are watched by women.
do we even have to mention that that like nofap is a thing that's undertaken by primarily men? Like I don't ever see women posting about nofap. When it comes
Well,
to like watching porn.
well, no, because the sad part about that is that's not really a woman thing. Because the sad part about that is women want that. Women want sex just as much, if not more, than men do.
Right.
Women are very sexual creatures, whether we all like it or not, whether they want to admit it or not. The sad part about that is they typically get in their little moods, and then they don't want to have sex with somebody, or sex with anybody, or sex with a certain person, or they only want to have sex with certain people, sadly.
Well,
And
I
that's
just
typically how that works.
if they're in like a long-term relationship with Jeremy Meeks, I know he's on level one. I know he's really good looking, but they still might, use it again if depending on how much of a
Yeah,
fiend he
that's
was.
typically how women work.
Yeah.
Women always try to threaten men somehow, some way, and try to hold something over men's heads, whether they like it or not. Like my favorite threats are, well, if you don't, well, I'm going to walk out this relationship if you don't want to do this. Like, bye. That's
Yeah.
me. That's basically me in a nutshell. Like, bye. Well,
If
don't
I
you care about me? Well, obviously not. If you want to leave,
Yeah, it's
and that's pretty
almost
much how it works. Like, it's like, no, you can't have it both ways. Or they'll use sex. They'll basically they'll hang sex over your head if you don't comply with them. Basically, like, well, that sounds like we're breaking up. And it's stupid shit like this on a regular basis, or they'll try to like not do something to get you to comply with something that they want you to do, and that's manipulation in a nutshell. And
Mhm.
I don't respond to manipulation, nor do I respond to ultimatums basically when it comes to women, because it's like, look, I really don't care. First off, secondly, you're not worth my time, and thirdly, I can always go find somebody else. It is
Mhm.
what it is. So this is typically a lot of times what women run. This is typically what a lot of times what a lot of women don't run into. People like me that'll tell you, well, okay, Biden. Men be like, well, I'm sorry, I'll clean this up. You got men running around with an apron on, trying to clean up shit, trying to get sex, basically, or trying to do shit to get sex. Like, no, that's not me. It's either
Yeah.
you want me or you don't want me.
Or when you say hi to people, it's not like there's no threat behind it. But if women say hi, it's like if you don't say hi to them, they can like blackmail you with the fact that you just aren't nice, aren't like one of these simps or one of these cucks
Yeah.
being like, oh, hello, my queen. Sorry,
Like,
sorry.
no, it's not even that though, because the sad part about that is even still, it's like they'll blackmail you with you're more likely to get blackmailed if you actually care, or if you have anything to lose, or if you're perceived as having anything to lose. And the sad part about there's a lot of people that don't have anything to lose that are like, oh no, please don't, oh no.
Don't
They're like,
threaten.
oh fuck off. It's like you can't
Yeah.
really threaten somebody that's not threatened. You can't really threaten somebody who feels nothing or who doesn't really care what you got going on. Sadly, it
Mhm.
doesn't work like that, and it would never work like that. And the sad part about that is there's a lot of people who try that on a regular basis, and it sucks. But it's like, what can you do?
Yeah.
Why can you do it? So the sad part about that is at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, you run into a lot of problems with people like me, and a lot of men are actually starting to stand up for themselves and say, "No, I'm good with that." Like, no, I'm
Not,
out
not like this whole because I feel like they
because I'm
allow.
not finna simp for any damn baddie. If somebody tells me I'm mad at you, okay, that's not like a personal problem.
Yeah.
Don't you care that I'm mad at you? No, I really don't care that you're mad at me.
Or like I think the moment a woman opens her mouth about the red pill or MGTOW or something online, there's a chance that she could actually face the consequences. But then all these guys coming and being extra and being toxic kind of takes the edge off of
And
her.
the sad part about that is like, here's the problem with that.
What I'm
Typically,
saying.
what I've noticed when it comes to women speaking of red pill,
Yeah.
there's really no talk. There's really no men actually coming at them, coming at their heads, basically, like there is men coming at our heads or women coming at our heads. There's not. They don't get the same fervor as we do.
Mhm.
Sadly, I mean, they might get a random comment or two, but they
But
don't
we
get
can,
they don't get people that harass them on a regular basis in their comment section like we do. Like,
right.
you
Russian
know,
bot. Get Russian.
I've been called everything under the sun. I've been called I've been told that people that somebody's going to murder me. I've been told, random crazy shit. Sadly, so it's like I get like my comment section is so fucking ridiculous anymore. It's like I don't
Yeah.
even read it anymore. I just get my children to read it now. So it's like I really don't care. So
Mhm.
it's like, and if it's one of them comments that's not crazy, then I'll respond to it or I'll hit hard and like it. Sadly, but if it's one of them crazy ass comments, I'll typically know where to skip over it or when to skip over. It's like,
Mostly,
what's the point?
if a guy watches one of those girls' channels, he's not going to take what they said personally. He's just going to think that she's being irrational. But if they hear you saying something that's not about them at all, they take it as a personal attack.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it doesn't
So,
really matter. Men will be like, oh well, she got some points and she got some good points and this and the other. And men will even go as far as to say, well, she's rallying for us men. Yeah, that's typically how men are.
mhm.
But the sad part about that, if I talk about something that, like case in point, I talked about how children are holder to higher standards than women, are held to have more accountability than women do.
Probably got
And I had a woman saying that I hate women.
Oh shit! That doesn't sound like hate. It sounds like you're trying to give. It almost. It's like maybe like at worst a backhanded compliment.
And I basically used an example in that video where I said it's funny how a woman could get drunk, go and do something, and then regret it, and then not take responsibility for it at all, and then destroy somebody's life. Whereas, like, you got a 4-year-old and you're asking them about, changing their sex. Literally what I said in the video. Literally what I said in the video. Like we give our children more credit and more responsibility and more accountability to want to change their sex than we give women in making a simple decision, not to do something or to do something. But I hate women.
Well,
And the
like
sad part about that is that video is probably the least hate I've ever taught. The less that video is probably like the least meanest I ever was to women.
yeah. Oh no,
And
definitely.
I wasn't even mean at all. I was basically explaining two different things, basically. And the sad part about that is, like, it's true. Think about it. Like when we send our kids to school, we expect them to get good grades, but we can't expect a woman to do any damn thing because now you're misogynistic and you're all this other stuff. But we expect our children to do good in school. We expect our children to get good grades. We expect our children to go to college. We expect our children to do a lot of stuff. And if our children feel as though that they're not a male or a female, they can pretty much be like, well, I don't feel like I'm a male or a female, and basically all this stuff, and they can make that internal decision. But we can't expect women to do any damn thing. Hell, we can't even, here's the thing, case in point, you can't even get a woman to make a decision on a restaurant, but I can get all my children to agree on a restaurant in a matter of 3 minutes, under 3 minutes. Literally, like, I think the longest ever took for all my children to agree on a restaurant was 1 minute, 2 minutes max. And I have a lot of children. So it's one of those things where you have to, like, literally look at it to a point and wonder what the hell is going on and why is it going on and what is the point?
Yeah, it's almost like they just don't. They don't want
It's
to
like
pick a place
it's like
because
it's like
they just.
you ask a woman you ask a woman where she want to go. I don't know. What about this place? No. What about this place? No. What about this place? No. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Like, do you really want to hear that all day? Who's actually being a child in this situation? But if I ask, I could get together all my children and ask them where you want to go for dinner or where you want to go for lunch. And they'll spout out several different answers and we'll take a vote on it and we'll have an actual answer by the end of like that vote.
Yeah,
And that's sadly how it works. And we end up at one restaurant and not multiple restaurants only.
Yeah, the children, they know that if they're the last person to make a decision, it's their fault that they're not gonna. Okay, no food then, guys. All the other kids are gonna be like, "Come on, so and so, why didn't you just pick a place?"
Well, no, it's not even that though, because the sad part about that is like there's a lot that goes into that because typically if you get a bunch of children, typically one's going to want McDonald's, one's going to want Burger King, one's going to want Applebee's, the other one's going to want freaking Olive Garden or Red Lobster. It's always all over the fucking place, basically, with children, sadly. But the sad part about that is those 11 children can come up with one restaurant in a matter of a minute. It is perfectly fine. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So why can't a woman just spout off a restaurant when you ask her that multiple times? What is the problem? Why? What's going on?
What's the difference between her and a kid? Pretty much just
Yeah.
hormones, right? Or like
Yeah,
maybe
probably it's
maybe
feeling and emotions. But the sad part about that, once you think about it, technically children do have feeling and emotions too, and their hormones are still rushing around, sadly.
Mm.
But you can get them to make decisions quicker. You can get a woman to make decisions.
That's tough. Yeah, like what is it then if it's not emotions? Because as like even kids probably. I wonder if they should do a study of kids on hormones, what their if their decision making goes sideways like a woman or something. Because we got women trying to convince kids to have the same mentality. They're like, "What gender are you? I don't know. Are you a boy? No. Are you a girl? No. Okay. Then
Well, and the
which one
sad
is
part
it?"
about that,
Like,
children can actually make this decision right off the bat. Why can't women? Like women do things based on pop culture or what's popping. Like you have a bunch of actresses who are conveniently gay right now because it's or lesbian right now because it's in to be lesbian. Sadly, they weren't lesbian before, but now all of a sudden now they are because they want to fit in with the crowd. Basically, it's typically how that works. Women
what
typically
you're
do
saying?
things to try to fit in. Now, the sad part about that is if you were to tell a woman that we're going to a restaurant, which restaurant do you want to go to? They won't be able to pick it. But if she had a choice between Applebee's and some fancy ass restaurant, she's going to pick the fancy ass restaurant. Sadly,
Yeah.
or she might be one of the women that don't want to look like a gold digger, so she'll basically be like, "Oh, it's up to you." But secretly, deep down inside, she wants to go to that expensive restaurant. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hmm.
It's typically how that works. So it's one of those things where like you'll get one or two women. You'll get a woman that want to look good and want the Instagram post and pictures. You'll get a woman that will that'll fake like she's not that and try to pretend like she's not that, but she really wants it.
Yeah. I was just I watched Infamous Rifle. You guys should check his channel out. But he was playing this clip of a girl cursing and swearing, and then apparently when she got into court, she was like enunciating and filing motions, which I feel like women do a lot more than men. That like actually filing motions and getting things passed through court, which is something that no one ever talks about. Like,
Well, typically, like case in point, I get where you're going with this one, but pretty much it's basically the double stand. It's pretty much women in a nutshell.
mhm,
Like she was perfectly fine killing people 5 seconds ago, or being like a child predator as a teacher. But the minute she get into court, she's wearing a cardigan, and she looks like Rebecca Sunnybrook Farms now.
mhm.
You ever notice that? Like
She's
all the women who've done something horrible, they're always dressed up looking like and they're always dressed up in a cardigan or dressed up looking like they're a cute little Sunday school girl, basically. Because the sad part about that is the defense basically wants you to think and believe that this person is innocent. They cannot be possibly, they cannot possibly be guilty of these crimes, sadly. And that's typically how that works. And that's how it's always been. The sad part about that, it's funny how women could be out there acting all tough and all this stuff, but the minute they get in somewhere where like it's a controlled area, all of a sudden now they want to act like they're Susie Homemaker. That's
right.
pretty much that's
That's
how
true.
it's always been. Because the sad
Mhm.
part about that is at the end of the day, how women are perceived out there aren't how women are perceived in there. It's kind of like Amber Heard. Everybody thought she was this sweetheart and darling sweetheart. Then you got some videos and you heard some more videos, and all of a
Mm,
sudden now Johnny Depp should have kept that to himself, and he should have never shared nothing like that. That's between him and his wife. But it was perfectly fine for her to badmouth him the whole damn time on social media or to the public or at a speaking engagement or all
right.
this stuff. It's perfectly fine for her to say it, but the minute Johnny Depp does it, he's wrong for doing it, and he should have kept that in a private between him and his wife and the private confines of his home. Like, okay, I see where we're playing now. I see where we're going with this now. Like,
Mhm.
it's sad, but it happens so often. It's fucking ridiculous anymore, and it
Right.
makes me wonder, and it makes me sick to my stomach when you hear it and see it. It's like, well, what is the point anymore?
Right. I mean, you never see guys just like flaunting their money on social media, but then they don't give it any of it to their wife. You know, it's like it would be it's like for them to be like, oh, this is my outlet, or this is a cry for help. You know, this is the only place where I can talk about this. It's like you're literally putting your personal information. Or remember Jada when she was like, Will Smith's not satisfying me in the bedroom. Don't talk about
Mhm.
that on social media. Like, what the heck? That's crazy. Like, why would you do something like that?
Women do that on a regular basis.
Yeah. And it's like, what? They're like, what am I supposed to do? Suffer in silence? Yeah, you are. You're supposed like just because you can talk about it online doesn't mean you should. Like, guys have to swallow things up and keep things pushed down all the time because if they mention something to you, they just get like nagged about it. And then they just be you, just do what feels right, you know. And like
Yeah,
they get
but the minute a man opens his mouth and says, "I'm not being satisfied in the bedroom," he's wrong, and he shouldn't have did that. And that's it should have been something that should have been kept private between him and his wife. And
oh
he's a
god,
misogynist, and he shouldn't be talking like that. And his poor wife, like what? What?
yeah. I mean, yeah, guys, like I said, guys never get played in as a victim. It's always they're the ones that, even if they get their throat cut, it's always like, oh, what did he do? But like a girl choosing to date somebody who is obviously very unstable, just because other people think that he's attractive,
Yes, Queen, get your man, girl. Yeah.
totally fine. And
Even the sad part about even if she even if she gets her ass whooped, if she chooses to go back to that guy, she still get rooted on by these women. Like, think about that.
she's not even on his team. She's on the sisterhood, you know. So
Well, the
like
sad
she
part about
got
that,
the
it's not even about that. It's not even about that. It's more or less the fact that, let's just say she get her ass whooped by this guy. She gets put in traction, and she chooses to leave one guy that that helped her out of traction and got her back on her feet and go back to the other guy. She's strong and brave and independent. She's a strong and brave woman, basically. Like, so you're going back to get your ass whooped again. I guess round two, fight. Like, so it's like, what can
Mhm.
you do?
Yeah, you definitely can't pay her back with licks with like, licks back. You could definitely can't do that if you're the guy, I mean.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah. Then the whole entire time I couldn't even sleep in the same house with somebody that came back to me after I hit them. Because if I put myself in their shoes, it'd be like, all right, you're gonna let me back after I hit you and you're gonna sleep in the same bed with me. Or, it'd be like, or like if a woman hit me, I'm not gonna let her, live in the same house with me after that happens, because then
Like, bitch got the gun.
it could escalate at any moment, like while you're asleep, while you're driving, while you're cleaning out, while you're up on the ladder and she's at the bottom. All she has to do is just bump her huge ass into the side of it, and you go down, and who knows what can happen. You can break a hip, break your neck, break your legs, and then cops come, they pull guns out on you. You're like, my legs are broken. Literally, how can I do anything? Oh, you're a perpetrator. Why'd you have to, yell at her so hard? Oh,
Yeah.
it's and it's just like, God, it does piss me off so much just talking about it, but you have to talk about it. Somebody has to mention it because nobody ever talks about these double standards. But it really is like, what can you do? You really can't do anything about it because it's just dumb.
Yeah,
And
it
like,
is.
talking about women is almost like talking about politics or talking about religion nowadays, where it's like it's so taboo. But then like you find little pockets to talk to, like explain the hypocrisy, explain the double standards, explain the ridiculousness, and it's just like I see a lot of men just like having those conversations and then going their separate ways, and it's just like I pray to God, I just thank God that they, like you said, it pisses you off, and I'm like, yeah, and also I hope that guys just don't even entertain that stuff anymore.
Like, because you basically have to not entertain it anymore to not even be bothered by it anymore. Even if you're not bothered by it, you're going to feel some sympathy for that person if they're actually a person on the up and up that got it that got an unfair just treatment. Sadly, so you're going to feel something for them. But
If
the
you see
sad
a
part about that, what you can't do is sit up here because, like, case in point, if you ever notice, every single woman that was actually a murderer or did something like with to children or anything like that, or kidnapped or anything, any crime that where another person was involved. If you ever notice, the defense always dresses them up like they're a victim or like they're innocent. Hell, I've even seen I've even seen like people who are like the most horrible people get dressed up by like the prosecutor side. They dress them up and make them look presentable on a prosecutor side too. And it's like, well, did that person like rob that person, or didn't that person like chop that person's ear off at one point, or throw hot coffee in that person's face? And you want us to believe that this person is on an up and up and telling the truth about this person over here. So it's like one of those things where like they try to always spin the narrative both visually, mentally, and emotionally and physically by doing the things that they do with the women. They'll basically dress them up, make them wear a cardigan, make them do all this stuff. Hell, I've seen old women with knitting bags that normally don't even knit. They can't knit, they can't cross stitch, they can't sew, they can't do anything like that with a bag basically for no reason whatsoever. So it always comes down to the hypocrisy and the bullshit, sadly.
Yeah, do you ever? Because like I always like when I scroll like YouTube to find material and stuff, and then I just like I see a dude's doing well for himself. I'm like, oh man, I'm feel happy for that guy. But then if like I see him with a girl and I could tell she's like she ain't shit, or she just like she doesn't seem like a girl that like a girl, like it doesn't seem like he has any standards after like all that success and stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you're still happy for the guy that he has success, but then in the back of your mind you kind of are thinking, you can't help but be a little bit negative about it, because you're just like, well, the best thing you could say is like, well, I just hope that he's being smart or being careful, and it's like you can't really tell that stuff just from looking at something once. You kind of have to like study it or be
Mm-hmm.
around. I've heard you say sometimes it's like, I'm like, what do you think about so and so? And you're like, you kind of have to like spend some time looking at their content, or if they're a content creator, or
Yeah.
any situation.
Or if
And
they got like a IG page or a Facebook page, I have to spend time looking at the shit that they post.
oh, women,
And it
but
is
like
what it
that's why this conversation
is.
is good too, because like you can't have this conversation with women, because if they just see that like that TikTok or something and they look happy, they're just like, well, why are you like, why are you making such a big deal about it? You're just jealous, or they try
Or
to
my
like,
favorite is like they'll see the numbers that person got and they go, "Well, I don't seem like a bad person at all." Yeah,
yeah, it
because you're
seems like
looking at their numbers.
they just seem kind of bitter, it's just like, wow.
Yeah, like
And I'm
it's
like,
like
that's weird
wow.
to you,
So you're
like,
perfectly fine with them murdering somebody on a video, and I'm bitter. Right. That makes a lot of sense, Hal.
well, they don't want to, like you said, they don't want to consider what could possibly happen wrong until it happens, and then they're just like with this shit eating, or like they just have to eat crow or something, because they weren't, and then they want to sweep the problem under the rug. Well, and that would never happen to me. Or it's anytime you highlight a specific, like what they would do on podcasts with these women, these ditzy women, they'll like try to throw facts in their face, and it's just like, it's not going to work, because they're just going to avoid responsibility. They're going to say, I'm not the type of woman to do that. My man is taken care of, this, that, and the other. Or I don't go for those types of guys. But then you give them a chance, and they do exactly what they said that they weren't going to do.
True.
And it's just like they never are in the line. They're never like being put at center stage for their fuck ups. It's always like, oh, but look, she has a good man, or like what I was saying. It's always like, oh, she's improving that man's life, even though she's just nagging him every single day. You
Yeah.
know, and it's just like,
That's
wow,
sadly how it works. It's like, what can you
yeah,
really do?
right. But I mean, I don't think I think it's harmless though, just to be happy for somebody that's successful, because I do see where people get jaded and they want to throw shade at these like successful men just because they decide that they want to date. And it's like, I don't know, I feel like they should put themselves in their shoes, like what would you.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. They do that too much, and then they believe that they deserve to be in that spot, though. That's the problem.
It's like
Yes,
resentment.
asking a woman to put herself in somebody else's shoes is like basically telling her that's what you deserve to be. You deserve to be that person. You deserve to be on the arms of that person. You deserve this. You deserve that. That's basically what that's like doing for women. if you tell a woman that, sadly. So you can't really even tell women that for that very reason, because now they believe that's where they need to be and that's where they deserve to be.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, what you said though about like just the status, the hierarchy about like the way things go, kind of like there's certain guys where you know that like they lose something, they're not gonna care at all. You know, it's like doesn't matter to them, or like they just focus on one thing only, and as long as they can do that thing, they can live in a relatively humble living situation. But I feel like with women, it's different. Like they can't just be satisfied with something. Like be satisfied with something. What?
Well,
That
no,
doesn't.
because they can't. Yeah, they can't satisfy, because now you got, now you're basically telling them that they got to settle for something.
Right. Like if
That's
the
that's basically what they hear. If they satisfaction is basically settling. So the sad part about that, they can never be satisfied with what they have, because the sad part about that, they will always be looking for the next best thing. That's typically how women are in a nutshell, and it's sad, but it's true. Like there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can really do besides hope and pray for the best. Sadly, when it comes to women,
mm, I
because you're
noticed
always
with
going to be looking for the next best thing or the next thing. Period.
I noticed with these alpha guys, it's like as long as they're around this girl that they claim that is submissive to them, they're fine. But as soon as they wander off, it's like they're like, "What am I supposed to do? Just be alone?" And then they immediately will go on, like off and go do shady shit.
Well, yeah, it's not even that. Though. It's more or less the fact that a lot of times these guys are basically playing alpha. Typically, when you play alpha, you basically eat shit or eat crow. But the
Mhm.
sad part about that is a lot of these alphas are only alpha because everybody believes that they're alpha. Everybody thinks that they're alpha. And it's like I said, there's always somebody that's more alpha than you that's always going to outshine you, sadly. And then the sad part about that is there's always somebody more alpha than that guy. So the sad part about it is it just keeps going up. And it just keeps on getting more ridiculous and grandiose, whether we all like it or not. Because at the end of the day, you're only going to be an alpha for a short period of time, or for one period of time, or for a certain situation. Whereas, you know, a lot of people are just existing, or a lot of people are doing what they need to do to better themselves. Because typically, alphas are only as alpha as everybody else believe, or everybody else is around them's perception of them.
Yeah. Like sometimes I have to like sometimes I'm not the most charismatic person in the room, but if I have any anger, sometimes you can like channel that into just be making it so that you get into your being more not excitable, but you're like more high energy, and like you could easily like overcome any like anxiety that you have if you just do that. So to say that one person is more alpha than the other, it's really just a matter of like how that person feels in the moment, and they could like easily
Yeah.
take over the room. It doesn't matter, you know. And then like there's all this superficial stuff that measures like or like the people try to say that measures like what it means to be an alpha, but those people still have. It's not like people who are rich and successful don't have um, social issues or problem socializing. It's just, and that's what I was gonna say something about Sigma too. It's like I don't think you can really volunteer to be a Sigma. I think it's like you don't really. It's not. I don't feel like it's something that that you choose. Like Sigmas definitely get to choose whether or not they're at the top of the hierarchy, but you can't just like go from one situation to another or to Sigma and back and like just go back and forth. Like I just
Yeah,
don't think
well,
it's
typically a lot of Sigmas are actually made from a young age, or they're typically a part of their personalities or their character traits, or their things along the lines of that. You typically exhibit certain character traits or certain behaviors or certain attitudes towards things that actually make you that. And it's one of those things where like you can't just practice being a Sigma. You basically are one or you're not one. You can't practice being like case in point. There are alphas in this world, and the sad part about that is a lot of times a lot of alphas don't shine because there's always too many in a room or something along the lines of that, sadly.
hmm
So it's one of those things where like you can't really be an alpha, and like if there's a bunch of alphas in a room, it's kind of like the
Sorry, sorry. I didn't mean. Well, I know I know this comedian that's like on social media. They're just like huge, right? But then there's also comedians that like are not on that don't have as big of a following. But if you get them both in the same room, they can like go neck and neck, or they can compete, or
yeah.
they can be that guy can be outmaneuvered. So it's like if they're alpha
Like
here,
I think like at the end of the day, Cat Williams is way better than Kevin Hart,
Kevin
hands
Hart.
down.
Sorry, that's what
Kevin
I
Hart's
mean.
hands down.
Oh, for
So
sure.
like at the end of the day, when it comes to comedy, he is king when it comes to comedy. Now you got Dave Chappelle, who can pretty much pick a punchline at the beginning, tell you the punchline at the beginning of the damn series, and come up with it to make it funny at the end of the damn series.
Mm.
He's just that damn good.
Yeah.
He's basically like the god of comedy, basically right now standing. You got Cat Williams, who we don't
Yeah.
really hear from no more, who is just that damn good. He's just a man. But you got other
Yeah.
people that are pretty good, really good as well too. But they don't really ever come close to those
Yeah.
two.
Or
They're
people
not
who
those
have like
two.
because you see a lot of people
Now you got funny
online who
people,
have
but you got funny.
they're
Don't get me wrong,
funny.
you got funny ass people, but you don't got like Dave Chappelle funny. Even when Dave Chappelle's being serious, he's funny. Like Cat
Yeah,
Williams, even
yeah,
when he's being serious, he's funny.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
Or like the people who kill it and they're not that don't have that.
he fell out. Nice. So yeah, you got people like that all the damn time, and you don't always get the proper you don't always get the proper things out of this sad shit. Sadly, and it's like, well, you got all these funny people, but they're not as funny as certain people, and there's always going to be somebody that's funnier, better, quicker, wittier than you. Sadly, at the end of the day, so when it comes down to it, you
I
have
mean,
to face
yeah,
the fact that
the,
either you need to better your craft or you need to be a better
yeah,
person,
mhm,
or you just got to make it. You got to just do what you need to do to make it in the industry. Sadly,
yeah. I mean, you got some people who are so quick to shoot down like you see it on YouTube all the time. They shoot down people who try to criticize them. And it's like one, they're already failing because they're already getting into the weeds of the negativity on social media. They think they can win when and then now you know that they're there just to be liked. They're not there because they actually enjoy doing it. Because they want to have that victory over some random person that just is gonna say what they're gonna say, and they're not actually there to perfect what it is that they're doing. Like, because there's no part about responding to negative comments or anything that helps. I feel like that helps make whatever it is that you're doing better. It's just to win
well,
that.
no, it all depends on the response to the comment.
Well, if it's just a
Well, it
comment
depends
as opposed.
if it's a witty response, and it's not like one of them ones where like you sound like you're in your feelings or you sound like you're in your emotions, like you Drake and shit.
Mhm.
You typically do better with those responses than you would for with any other type of response.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. It's an
typically I always
opportunity.
go with wittier responses, and it's actually way better to go with a wittier response than most people because it's one of those
Hmm.
things where it's like it's kind of sort of low, but it's kind of sort of funny at the same time. It's typically what I do to the Black Girl community when they come over to my channel talking all that mess. I go, well, at the end of the day, you don't got and I do, so sucks being you. So it's like, now you're just being mean. And then I have one dude literally say, why you gotta be mean to me like that? Like, how are you gonna just shame me like that? You were literally in my comment section doing this for like 37 comments, and all of a sudden now I'm the mean person. Now I'm the rude person. You came to my channel and I'm the rude person. Like, make that make sense to me, my guy. It's like people's perception and people's feelings. People get into their feelings way too much because like I see it happen in a Black Hill community when they come to my channel all the time, and they do it, and they be like, well, this and the other bro, and this and the other bro, and they're in my comment section saying all this shit. Then when I respond to them, all of a sudden now I'm the meanest person in the world. Now, mind you, they're on my channel doing this shit. But I'm the mean person for responding to them in the manner that I did. I'm the mean, evil person now, and I'm
See,
shaming
like
them. It's like, make that make
I get
sense.
it. It's
Yam keeps falling out somehow, some way. Only Yam. Only Yam. But yeah, going to continue without him until he gets back. But yeah, it's like you can't play victim after you do something wrong or you try to draw the first blood. You can't play victim then thereafter, sadly, because it doesn't really work like that. And then you'll get somebody like me that'll hurt your feelings. And I will say I'm a very witty person. I'm not the wittiest person in the world, but I'm a very witty person on the spot if I have to be. And what the heck do you keep on doing to fall out?
Hey, sorry, I don't know. It's like it's raining or something. I don't know what it is. But
But yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
like
kind of like
I'm not the wittiest person in the world, but I'm witty enough to go toe to toe with a lot of people. And I would never say I'm the best at being witty. I'm very witty. I'm very smart and very witty, and sometimes very funny and witty. But typically, I will actually admit that I'm not the best at it. Can I make it better? Yeah, I can make it better. Is there things I need to work on? Maybe, yeah, there is. But the sad part about that is, if you've ever seen me, I am very witty. Even my analogies are witty. So I was like, what can you do?
yeah. I mean, a lot of the stuff, like I said, goes right over people's heads. And I don't know why they wouldn't just move on. You know, if something didn't make sense to them. You could always do your own research, or you could just look at something else that makes sense. Like I don't understand why people just bash their head against
Yeah.
the wall trying to figure something out that you said when it's like, you know, a lot of the stuff you could just take at face value, but a lot of the shit does have layers to it. You know, that's why it's kind of hard for me to do the bleeding edge because I'm always like trying to interpret what people say, but then at the same time, I'm not doing it in a way I shouldn't do it in a way that makes it where I start thinking that people are out to get me because how people express themselves is how they express themselves. If you have a problem with it, then it probably is something that you're doing wrong. Is what slowly starts to make sense over time for people. But it definitely takes you a while because, like I said, I'm not saying people are stupid. It's just they're engaging a lot of stupid behavior online, and then they feel like they can because they get such good reactions out of most people. They feel like they can just act that way all the time. They're never going to pay the consequences. But like I think that a lot of this stuff can be can really be pretty bad on your mental well-being after a while. You know
Well, it depends on who you are and how
how
much
you protect.
how much fortitude you actually have too when
Sure.
it comes to stuff like that. It's like you gotta have a lot of fortitude when it comes
Mhm.
to people being stupid to you or people being ignorant to you. If you don't have the fortitude or the will or the mental fortitude to deal with it, you're not gonna ever really deal with it. You're always gonna fall short. And
Yeah,
this
no,
is typically
I
what a
mean,
lot
and
of people suffer
that pisses
from.
people off because they can't. Nothing in life seems like the way that all this shit is set up. Like to tell someone they can't do something is almost like it's a microaggression in this day and age because it's like anybody can turn on a StreamYard and say a bunch of random bullshit, and if no one responds to them, they don't have no way of like interpreting it. They could think that they're the smartest person to ever be born too, or they could just think that they're dumb. Like if you're hypercritical of yourself, you could do really well and just still think that you're or say stuff that's really good. If you're not getting the feedback that you want, you might still think that you suck. So it's like at the same time you got to have fortitude, but you also like sometimes you shouldn't even trust yourself too. If you're very hypercritical, you should just do because you're probably overthinking it. It's good
Yeah.
to be like it's good to like fix things, but if there's no problem, then why just blow something up? That was never a problem in the first place, or blow it out of proportion. That's why I kept saying people have to just talk about it, um, talk about something instead of starting to hold beef for no reason. It's like that's
Well, you
so.
also got to take consideration too that we live in a society where beef brings a lot more views and attention to you.
Mhm.
So by causing beef and starting beef, you're going to get views and attention. Who doesn't want views and attention through beef and stuff like that?
But that's not
And typically,
necessarily
people,
true because I've always seen that you like videos that you make that are about beef. They don't do. I don't feel like they. I feel like they don't do as well as ones that you do that are like straight to the point.
yeah.
But I mean,
But the
like,
irony to it, though, is like a lot of those videos do get a decent amount of views. They don't get like a whole lot of views, but they get a decent amount of views. except for like there's very few videos that I've done where I actually had beef with somebody that actually got a shit ton of views. And one of those ones were MGTOW Dictionary, and the other one was somebody else, but I can't remember who it was. But and that's pretty much all it really is. It's like
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, it's like at the end of the day, do I want to be in that beef? Not really. But the sad part about that is if you drag me into it for no reason whatsoever, I'm going to be in it. It's not like I started it. It's like because I've never once started a beef. Never once. I might have said some shit about somebody acting stupid, but it's typically one of those things where nobody else was saying it and it needed to be said. Like,
You don't need anybody to co-sign on you. Just talk,
yeah, no,
calling out
nobody.
the
I don't need
bullshit.
nobody to. I don't need nobody to co-sign on. I need everybody to understand what the hell's been going
What's
on
happening on? Because
and
I'm
what's
okay.
being said.
Yeah, I
Basically,
get what you're saying. Right.
case in point, like I'm not going to say the person's name because they're no longer really making content anymore. They're kind of sort of are, but there was a certain person in the MGTOW community that was referring to themselves as a monk. Things came out and things came to light that person wasn't actually being a very good monk. So I said something about it. Then that person stopped calling herself a monk. They called themselves another name with an M. So
Mhm.
then, case in point, like no, I don't start beefs. I basically like integrity. I basically like the integrity of like people and people around me and the things that they do. You can't sit up here and say you're something and then wonder why everybody's bashing you or talking trash on you or telling this all this information on you for this very reason. Because then on top of that, if you're doing that and that's the case, you're being fake. You have no integrity. And the sad part about that is the fact that this person had no integrity, but he had all these people watching him, all these people donating to him, made no damn sense to me.
Mhm.
So basically, when I end up like thinking about a lot of people in the manosphere is like, so basically, you need no integrity if you want to be a big channel.
Right. I mean, I never started beefs, but in like an impersonation, I wouldn't consider it as a beef. But like because like if I did an impersonation of somebody, if it's like when I do challenges or impersonations or when Tico does meta MGTOW videos and stuff, it's like you're not you don't do the content to make people feel bad. That's the complete opposite of what you would want to do. Like the
Mm-hmm.
ideal thing is like they create an equal or a response and get it back to you. That way people that I send to you, they get sent back to me, and so on. And there's a rapport and a continuity to it. Because like the drama stuff just brings in randos, and then the next time you have drama that's not consistent, you bring another set of randos, but then none of them ever stay. So it's just like, and I mean, Shinobi's tried to call me out a couple of times for doing that, but I don't really play that with when it comes to manosphere stuff. I don't really like try to start drama with people. I just do comment, like I said, I kind of do meta like jokes about it, and only it like if it resonates with people, then that's good. If they want to make a joke responding to me, if they want to do an impersonation a counter impersonation or something like that, that's what it's meant for. It's meant to just have fun and not to make people feel like, and that's what I think. Like
Well,
I
the sad part about that is you always
yeah.
get that person that'll try to make it out to be something worse than it needs to be, or you try to make it out to say like you're being very malicious in your act, sadly. And that's
Yeah, for
typically
sure.
how a lot of drama starts, by people just saying that you're being very malicious and you're doing this, and then that person believes it, that person eats it, and now that person's out here making content trying to belittle you or bully you, and it's like,
Mhm.
wait a minute. First off, it was a joke. Secondly, knock it the heck off and act like an adult, act like a
Yeah,
man, basically.
like they
So
tell you to tone it down, but then they turn up the fucking heat on you, and like
yeah,
it's
it's
like
like
what the
then they
hell?
expect me to roast, and I'm sitting there chilling like Bugs Bunny, washing up in the shit.
Hey doc, right? Hey doc.
Sitting there washing up in the thing, the heat on like 5,000. I'm sitting there watching them like I'm Bugs Bunny in the one episode.
Right?
And
It's
the
like,
sad part about that
does
is
your
they want me
vision
to
work?
tone it down, right?
Exactly. You'd be like,
Like
I think you need glasses or something, hearing aid or something. Like, I don't know. I got insurance, so I mean, if it was me, I could fix myself. But I feel like that's what I think is so stupid about like people not really staying in their lane because like what I was gonna say was it's like I was really on into MGTOW for a while. Like I was like, I want to be that. I want to do lifestyle. This is before I knew anything or knew any better or really knew much about it. I just kind of like the first stuff that I started hearing
Well,
about.
no, because the sad part about that is if you don't want the lifestyle, you basically watch the wrong MGTOW.
Yeah.
Basically, that's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
much
yeah.
how
No,
that
no, no,
works.
no, 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 no. You're right, right. If you
Like
what? Yeah,
if you
yeah.
watch the wrong MGTOW, then you come to that conclusion. It's like, well, maybe that's not for me.
Maybe that's
Or
exactly.
maybe you should be watching other people like Sandman or maybe Hammerhand. Hammerhand's a good one.
That's something you can't do.
Mystery
Yeah,
Lead,
you
Red
can't just
Pill,
blame.
Red Pill Fred, Jay
You can't,
MGTOW.
you can't just shit on a.
Even though he gets in some shit with Penny Proud still to this day, and a few other people, people like that,
No, it's
Jankies,
okay.
Wind is still, even though he claims he's Red Pill now, but Wind
They're all
still is.
they're all
Duzangs is a good one. True Sherm, Mr. Forma.
Mhm,
There are good people to watch, ironically. Then there
for
are
sure.
people that you don't really know very much about that make really good content. Like I'm trying to think of people that make really good
That
content as far as
Bez,
MGTOW is concerned.
Bez, that guy that you keep mentioning that I don't even know how to pronounce his name. That guy,
I
I've
don't
never.
really think I don't think he really makes MGTOW content because he doesn't
Oh,
even put it in his title. But he does make a lot of content surrounding a lot of the topics and stuff like that, and a lot of the talking points. So in all technicality, he technically is
well,
MGTOW.
yeah, that's the thing. Like, I hear a lot of people, especially doing commentary on like pop culture, rap, hip hop. They
Well,
say a
it's not
lot
even
of
that.
stuff.
It's not even that though. It's more or less the fact that he does stuff on like women doing ridiculous stuff and then trying to
Oh, I
get out
see.
of it, or when women trying to downplay stuff like
Mhm.
Twitch thoughts, or women on Instagram, or women doing stupid stuff, or influencers and stuff like that. He basically talks about stuff like that. So he technically does do a lot of MGTOW content. But the sad part
Yeah.
about that is there's really no sad part about it. He's really not one of them people who get messed with too often. He's not really one of those people who harass on a regular basis. He typically, he gets a decent amount of followers, but he just flies under the radar like it ain't crap. But he's a very good content creator nonetheless. And it's like some of the stuff that he says and the way he goes about it is very, very smart and very, very witty and very, very open and honest. And it's like he doesn't do it in a malicious way. He doesn't do it in a way where, he's being a dick or a jerk or a creep or anything like that. He does it quite nicely. And his delivery is nice.
Huh.
And that's the neat thing about him. And that's one thing I can say about him. But I still watch him religiously too. Um,
The one
then
thing
you
that I
got then you also got content creators like Replicant Fish, um, Human, kind of sort of Red Pill MGTOW. You got what the heck is his name? Oh my god, I forgot. I'm forgetting people's names off the bat when I get put on the spot. Damn. But anyway, you got a lot of content creators that you should watch versus the content creators that probably is not the greatest to watch. But the sad part about that, not too great to watch content creators. They're more entertaining. They're more entertaining because they do a lot more craziness and they do a lot more stuff and they say a lot more crazier stuff. So it makes it more entertaining to watch them at the end of the day than your regular guys basically that are actually representing the representative philosophy to the best of their ability. And that's typically how you get caught up in a mess, and that's typically how a lot of the stuff pans out. Sadly,
Yeah, I mean, it's useless to really play like favoritism and stuff. Like if just because you don't want to promote one person, then you want to prop up somebody else, doesn't mean that other person doesn't have a right to make whatever
yeah,
they want. Eventually, they might figure something out, and maybe they start appealing to you, or maybe you're the type of person that just once you're over it, or once you're done, you're just done, and you.
yeah.
I feel like they shouldn't hold it against a person that just doesn't vibe with it. But like I
Well,
think
that's not even. It's not even about not holding against a person
because
that
a lot
doesn't
of people
vibe
will
with it.
get
It's more or less the
offended
fact that
when you shout them out, and like what you said, you feel pressure to like think of a bunch of people on the spot. It's like if you don't get mentioned in somebody else's video, is it really that bad?
no, because a lot of people take it to heart.
Yeah, no, that's what I
Man, a
said.
lot of people will take it to heart and stuff like that. Well, Tico didn't mention me. Like, well,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
sorry, dude. Like,
Shit.
that's not something I actually planned. It's not like I got a script here and I'm reading off a script all these names. Sadly, I literally got to think of stuff off the top of my head. And the sad part about that is like, I don't plan this shit. This shit just basically comes up, and it's like, hello, surprise, here. So it's like,
Mhm.
and that's something that a lot of people don't really understand or
Well,
realize too. It's like, well, I don't write this shit down.
right. There's a different like sect of people though that just associate constantly, so they always have to mention each other. I feel like once that breaks off and then they stop mentioning one person, everyone's like, "What's up? Are they broken up? Are they together?" It's like all this stuff, and it's just like a lot of people get roped into that. Like you have to have a clique, you have to have an entourage, you have to have a group of people that you mess with and a group of people that you're beefing with. It's
Yeah,
just natural for people to make assumptions like
you
that.
got
But
to, and it's like you got to in this day and age to have that. You can't not have it, and because then you won't be relevant, or people won't watch you because you don't have the people that you're beefing with versus the people that you're rolling with versus the people that you're beefing with and rolling with. It's like
but it,
you
it,
gotta have those. It's like you gotta have those extra layers of drama. Like case in point, like I've there's a lot of people on the Tico sphere that has a lot of beef with other people, and they just basically just mind their business, sadly. And the sad part about that, just because they're a part of the Tico sphere, that doesn't mean I have beef with them. But the sad part about that is people outside looking in will say, well, Tico's riding with that person, so obviously Tico has beef with me or this person or that person or this person or that person. It's like, no, I really don't. I don't. Your beef is between you two. It has nothing to do with me.
mhm,
Even on the shows, or even in like live streams, if somebody has a beef with somebody, that's between those two.
yeah.
It may have been mentioned in my live stream, but that doesn't mean I have the same sentiment as that person. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean I ride wholeheartedly with that person at the end of the day. They just have a beef with that person. And it's like, well, sometimes it makes for good content, sometimes it makes for cringy content. But typically when it makes for cringy content, I typically cut it off at the knees because I hate cringe. Unless you're somebody that can do it properly or do it funny or mitigate it to the point where it's actually, interesting.
Mhm.
Then I'm perfectly fine with it. But typically, there's nobody in the stream that can do that. I'm not going to let you just run off at the mouth and do stupid shit like that.
Right, because what you're doing is you're roping everybody into your drama, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
and
I
that
don't feel like being roped into your drama by proxy or being roped into your drama for anything. Like, then, like, you'll get people that'll start talking trash on people. Then they'll try to get me to co sign on their bullshit that they're saying. It's like, well, no, I'm not co signing on that. So it's just weird shit on a regular basis that people do. And it's not even it's like they try to act like men, but they're acting like women, masculine women.
mhm. Well, it's just like yeah, I mean, it's the stuff where you see somebody on the side, a girl on the side of the road struggling, and then you're like, well, I don't have time to deal with that, and it's just like they get, oh, why don't you stop? Why aren't you being generous? It's like, okay, I don't want to know what's gonna happen. Okay, if you pull over, chances are something might, if you say the wrong thing, you get accused of assault or whatever, or you might get arrested. The cop is called on you or something. So you're doing a favor protecting yourself. It's not illegal or against the law to be just a little bit, like I said, just be a little bit cautious. And I get where people are like that. And then at the same time, if I want to go on a limb and make a thing, I don't want to drag other people along with it because what are the chances that I'm wrong? Maybe like 50-50, or it's like you're taking a chance on me, like you're riding with me, but it's like I'm still learning. I could be wrong, and you should especially as people who want to grow independent, mutually or grow alongside people, but not like have the all these our channels mix, kind of like what we do. It's like don't get involved in something that, or don't hate me because somebody else doesn't like me.
Dislikes me or hates me. Yeah,
You
it's
could
like that
just sit.
makes no sense. It's like you're perfectly fine with this person saying it's about me, but the minute I respond, now you have a problem with it. Like, okay, how's that make sense? That's double standard, like a motherfucker, basically.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, just I gotta kind of go check the mail and do some stuff and before the day is done. So I'm probably gonna get going, but yeah, I thought this was a nice little Baron and Sadist chat for y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, God, yeah, we're just two men sitting in the kitchen. I was in the kitchen. I'm in the living room, but sitting in the kitchen talking about homicide and sipping tea. Basically.
Basically, I was sipping tea.
Yeah, I was thinking about brewing it up, but I had some hot soup, so I'm good. But yeah, if you're a fan of this chat, 2 hours, you like it? You like it? You think it should be shorter? You think it should be longer? Good question. Put your comments in the box below. Leave a like, and yeah, that's nothing, not a lot of time wasty stuff in this Baron and Sadist. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Check out my channel, Baron Yam. And I'll see all you Yam sexuals in the next video.
You just called them yam sexuals. Wow, this guy.
They've all.
This is Tico Trend Red Pill. Check me out. Check me out on Tico Trend Red Pill and or Vedic Ghost. Either way, like and subscribe and share the channel, especially Vedic Ghost. I'm trying to get it big. I'm trying to make it to 1,000. So yeah. That's about it. Other than that, then I'm going to try to get the Tico Trend Red Pill channel to 1,000 too. So like and subscribe and share both channels. Be blessed and have a good one, and treat yourself like milk and do not spoil yourselves, and always be a better version of yourself and make yourself a better version no matter what. Every day, second, hour, whatever the hell. And that goes for anybody. Anybody and anybody. But y'all be blessed and have a good one.
Yes. And through you, Wind, and I'm just.
What is up, guys? It's Baron Yam. And for all you people cohabitating thinking that you're holding it down, how come your wifey's bedside drawer looks like Toys R Us? Huh?
And shout out to Win for his new yacht, by the way.
Yeah, congrats.
Well, it's not new. He's had it for about a month now, but
layaway.
Shout out to Win for his month. Shout out to Win for his new yacht. All right, see y'all.
I saw Ariel on that yacht. It was like under the sea, and I was like,
right, right under the sea.
He's actually just over there acting like Flounder. You know
right. Down for this with it. You can ask me. We got a hot distinction, man.
Slippery and wet and playing up on the boat,
right.
making Ariel jealous. Yeah, she had to come up there.
Mm-hmm. Got Dan King playing the cello. We got Dan King playing the bass. We got Slippery and Wet playing the bass guitar. Got Babu singing lead vocals and shit.
Poseidon, just like, Ariel, stop messing with the forks. It's like,
right.
There's one of the forks. He's getting all mad. It's just like, hey, you should be able to play with me.
Yeah, too funny.